Hello, I'm Tim from the Iowa Register, and I'm here with Jason Trego from Allen County Emergency Management. How are you?
I'm good, Tim. How are you?
Good. And I am um, so grateful you are here today because this is round two.
Round two.
We tried to record this on Friday, but I forgot to turn on the sound. You were very gracious for you to be here.
So after I left, after the first recording, I was texting my wife that it was over and done with, and she asked how it went. I was like, I think it went great. I'd do it again. And she said, "Who knew it would be so soon?"
Exactly. This is so embarrassing.
It's all in good fun, I think.
Well, thank you for having that great of an attitude about it because I was so worried. I was like, oh, I wrote the email and I was like, I don't even know if I can send this. I didn't want to do it.
No, my whole world is things not going as planned.
That's actually a good segue. Okay, because you work with emergency management,
Right.
and so your job most of the time, well, all of the time, is to think about what could go wrong.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about your job. What is your title and what are kind of your day-to-day duties?
So I am the emergency manager for Allen County, and I am in charge of making sure that the emergency operations plan is up to date. It's renewed every 5 years, and everything that goes along with that, doing testing, training, exercises, making sure that our plan is where it needs to be when we need it.
Plan is a key word because it is May 4th, Star Wars Day. I get it. Yeah. Are you a Star Wars fan?
I am not.
Okay, because I'm not either.
Okay.
People, like 3 people have told me today that
May the 4th be with you.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, it's cool the first, like 20 years ago, maybe. But hey, do what you got to do, guys.
Sure.
But plan is key when we are heading into tornado season.
Absolutely.
Because May and June are kind of the real heat or the heart of the tornado season. And so I guess I'm one of those guys. I tend to just kind of have on a wing and a prayer that everything's going to be okay. So we probably have different personality types when it comes to
maybe a
things.
little.
But I guess I wanted to start by asking, what do we need to do as we think about tornadoes, getting ready, preparing? What is your first piece of advice to people?
Everybody needs to have their personal plan lined out. When that tornado siren goes off, where are you going to go? And what is your safe place? What's your closest safe place? And if it's somewhere in your home, is it stocked with the supplies that you need to be there for an extended period of time, up to 72 hours?
A couple months ago, you and Chelsea were talking about Genesis. Can you tell me what Genesis is and what it's used for?
Sure. So Genesis replaces Code Red, which a lot of people around the county are familiar with what Code Red is or was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a mass notification system that we use, the county subscribes to. It is an opt-in system, so our citizens need to register if they have not already. And automatically they will send out weather warnings for severe thunderstorms, tornadoes, and even red flag warnings, so fire weather, danger, and flood warnings.
Huh. Okay, so sorry. If I was signed up for Code Red, am I signed up for Genesis?
Not automatically.
Okay.
So when we migrated from Code Red over to Genesis, only a couple hundred out of the several thousand registrants that we had were able to be migrated over. And that's just how Code Red keeps the data in their system. So we weren't able to get everybody moved over. And that's why we've had a big push since we've implemented Genesis to help make sure that people are getting registered. And we have had some good numbers.
Oh, good. That's good to hear. Why is Genesis better, different than me just like having a bunch of weather apps on my phone?
So Genesis, the benefit of Genesis is that it can call you, it can text you, and it can send you an email, depending on how you have it set up for your account. And that way, whether it's your landline, your cell phone, everybody's got their cell phone in their pocket. Mm-hmm. And they're always on it, scrolling, whatever. And
yeah,
unfortunately, But then you get a notification that says, "Hey, you're in a severe thunderstorm warning. Take shelter."
Okay, that's another. You just hit another one of the words I wanted to ask you about: warning versus watch. Which one do I need to care more about, and what's the difference?
You need to care more about a warning.
Okay.
One of the things that is out there is a taco watch versus a taco warning. A taco watch is all the ingredients are in place. You've got the tortillas, you've got the ground beef, you've got the lettuce and the cheese and the salsa. Um, a taco warning is when it's all put together and you are eating the taco.
I love it. I love it.
So the best way to think about it is the watch is going to be issued hours ahead of time.
In a pretty broad
at some
area.
point, pretty broad area, right?
Mhm.
It's going to be issued for several counties, and it's going to be issued for usually I think it's 7 hours at a time.
Okay.
And a warning is going to be issued in time. So it is we are either observing a tornado on the ground now, or we have reports of a funnel cloud coming down that we expect to become a tornado, or we, for whatever reason, the National Weather Service is predicting that something will become a tornado and they will issue a warning.
Stupid question, but is there anything more serious than a warning, or is that like is that as bad as it gets?
A warning is typically the top.
Okay.
However, there are tornado emergencies, which the first tornado emergency, actually, the anniversary of that was yesterday, May 3rd, 1999, for the Bridge Creek Moore tornado. That was a EF5 rated and still holds the record for highest winds recorded on Earth at 321 miles per hour.
I've got to ask you this. What's the difference? Like, I know that there are different, 1 to 5 on the tornado scale. What is the difference in severity between like a 1 and a 2? Is it just like it's double the strength, or how are those distinctions?
They're damage categories, and it actually starts at U for unknown. And we actually had one of those, I think, last year, where there were pictures of a tornado that may have been touched down in Allen County, but then nobody could actually go out and say, yes, this is where the tornado was.
Yeah.
Who knows where it hit? We have nothing to go on of what happened.
Just a couple grainy photos from somebody's phone or something.
Then a EF0 is, there was definitely a tornado. There's some damage, but generally not much. And then it just goes up in severity. And what's interesting about the way that the EF scale works is that it's 100% based off of damage. It's not based off of wind speed, although there are generally wind speeds associated with it.
So when they say they expect it to be a Category 5 tornado, they're expecting that level of damage. They're not saying, oh, it's going to be 200-mile-an-hour winds or this much rain or whatever. They just say, hey, this is going to be devastating.
Right. And there have been strong tornadoes that have just hit open farmland. And if there's nothing to damage, how do you really determine how strong it was outside of the wind?
That's a good point.
So that will keep some of the ratings down for some of the bigger, more violent tornadoes that just happen to hit open
empty
farmland.
Areas. Yeah. We've already had a couple tornadoes in the area. I mean, we've published photos in the eastern part of Allen County. There were reports in Neosho County just a couple weeks ago, I think, maybe a little bit longer ago, but of tornado. So the first thing I need to do is I need to have my personal emergency plan.
Right.
Okay, I have none. I don't have one. I hate to say that. So help me build one. What are some of the things that I need to have in my plan?
First of all, knowing where you're going to go to be safe.
Okay.
So whether that is in your home, you want to get to an interior room, or in a basement would be better, but down to the lowest floor, under something sturdy. The National Weather Service uses the acronym DUCK.
Duck.
Down to the lowest level, under something sturdy, cover your head, and keep in shelter until the storm has passed.
Okay.
Basements are best. If you don't have a good shelter, then Iola does have storm shelters that are used.
Remind me.
There is the Bolus Fine Arts Center.
Okay.
the Iola City Hall, and just outside of Iola at the Allen County Rural Volunteer Fire Department, they do have a standalone shelter.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm thinking, and with regards to pets, I need to call those places to see which
Yes.
ones.
So the city storm shelters are operated by the city, not the county. So that comes down to their discretion.
Okay. Yeah, I was talking with City Council member Jeremiah Ivy about this I think it was a couple weeks ago, just about storm shelters, getting access to them. We have a basement in our home, but it's like a half basement. So I can still, there's an exterior window. I need to find somewhere away from exterior wall glass. I need to duck. And what do I need to have with me? I need like water, food. What else do I need?
So a good kit to have, or a good place to start with one, is 1 gallon of water per person per day. And if you have any pets with you, take their needs into consideration as well. And you're not going to need as much water for something like a Chihuahua as if you had, a lab or something like that. But their food, food for you as well. Your medications, their medications, something to keep yourself entertained. Another big one is closed-toed shoes, because once you get out of your shelter, if there's been significant damage as you're walking around, you want to make sure that you're not walking on open glass, like if you have slippers or flip-flops or something like that.
That's a good point. I do think during the summer, most of us, if we're at home, we're either barefoot or we've got sandals or flip-flops or just socks on. So that's interesting to think if you're trying to get out of your home after a storm and there's a bunch of exposed materials. Okay. What about, so like, let's say there's a bad storm that comes through and like, let's just say internet's gone or, whatever, or the cell phone service doesn't work. How am I going to be reachable? How are people going to be like, what do I do, I guess?
So one good thing to have on hand in your kit is also a rechargeable radio. There are hand crank radios, and hopefully at least some of our local radio stations within range will still be live and on the air, and we will work with them to help get the information out that we need to our citizens.
So you'd work with like KIKS.
Absolutely.
That's where I should be tuning in, not to some other station or anything like that.
Yeah, and hopefully other stations in the area that, hey, we know that there's something that's been affected. We'll take a break in the music to help put out this information so that people can be aware of what's going on.
Okay. Interesting. Today's Monday. They just did the sirens test. Like they do every week at noon. What do you think are some of the misconceptions about the sirens in town, or is that enough, or how much attention should I be paying when they're on? It's immediate.
That's a really good question. I'm glad you bring that up because they are outdoor warning sirens. They are intended to be heard by people that are outside. That their original intention is that if you're not inside watching your TV to see the little crawler at the bottom, or you're not inside listening to a radio where you can have an emergency alert system come up, if you're outside working in your garden, mowing your lawn or something like that, then you can hear the storm siren and be notified that something's taking place.
One more reason to sign up for Genesis.
Yep.
Like most of us on a random day, a lot of us are like, we're either at work or at school or at home. We're not like, and if I'm in the car, I might not like have no radio or no music on. I guess they were kind of like relics of a day when most of us were working like agricultural jobs.
Right.
We were outside,
Yes.
That probably isn't the case for most people now.
Sure.
Even if you're inside a facility like Gates or Russell Stover, that's plenty of noise that's not going to let you hear a tornado siren. Okay. I've got to ask, does it ever feel like, the children's story, Chicken Little, right? Like, do you ever feel like you talk a lot about this stuff and get prepared and get ready, and people just like, or maybe the boy who cried wolf is a better example, but just like people don't seem to be picking up what you're explaining.
Yeah, I think that's something that really happens around here in Tornado Alley and the Midwest and the Great Plains is tornado sirens go off. Everybody grabs a lawn chair and goes out in the front lawn to watch. And that's not what we want people to do. We want people to heed those warnings and actually get into their safe place and stay there until the storm passes.
Yeah. I imagine that's got to be a difficult part of the job. I think when we filmed the first time, you said your job was like 90% preparation for
Yeah.
the 10% action. And so that's a big part of your role in the community, right? Is constantly to be advocating for resources that you hope people never have to use.
Exactly.
I think that'd be a weird, um, I can imagine some pushback because these are our expenses.
Yeah.
These are things that we need to invest in. Storm shelters aren't just random cheap things that you can
Sure.
go get at Walmart.
Yeah.
These are major investments. What are some parts of the job? And listing that is kind of a frustration, but what are some parts of the job that you really enjoy?
I mean, I just like that I never know what's going to happen from day to day. At times, you never know when there's going to be a storm pop up out of nowhere, and I'll go out and spot the storm. There was one a couple of weeks ago where it supposedly put down a tornado west of Yates Center, and then that storm was coming right towards Allen County. So I get in my truck and I head out there to try and get ahead of it, and the storm totally fell apart before it came to Allen County, and all we got out of it was some rain, thankfully. But I never know what the day is going to bring. And
so you're out there on if there's a tornado watch or a warning, you're out there?
At times, yes.
Wow. I didn't know that. So, I mean, Storm Chaser is a thing, and
right.
we just had, tell me a little bit about, what was it? Fury on the Plains at the Bola Center just a couple weeks ago.
So there is a little bit of a nuance between a storm spotter and a storm chaser.
Okay.
And a storm spotter is somebody who is working collaboratively with an emergency response agency to say, hey, I'm in this location. This is what I can see. Whereas storm chasers kind of has more of a Reed Timmer, get in front of the tornado so I can get hit by it, daredevil kind of connotation along with it. So we like storm spotters because they know how to stay safe and where they can observe the storm without being in the direct line of it.
Yeah. What you're not saying is storm chasers get on your nerves.
It's not that they get on my nerves per se. But they do like to call in on 911 and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, and this is what I've got. And it's just hard for us because we have no way to verify them.
Right. And they're kind of just off doing their own thing, right? And they won't listen to you if you're saying turn around.
Right.
That was a question that I had too. I wanted to ask how you guys, especially when you're working dispatch, maintain a level of calm, especially, when people are calling and if somebody's calling you guys, it's a bad day.
Sure.
Sometimes it's the worst day of their lives. Who knows what could be going on? And so I imagine that would be emotionally draining and really tough to go home and kind of, I don't know, just kind of draw a line or decompress. And so I was curious how you and your staff, how you work to keep emotionally healthy and fully present in the job.
So I always harken back to something that my EMT instructor told me many years ago, and is that this is not your emergency. You are not the one that is physically ill or badly injured. And that allows you to kind of stay in a mind space of, I am going to do what I need to do so to have a better outcome for this patient. And if I'm freaking out over it, that's not doing anybody any good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times you hear 911 or dispatch calls. Sometimes I'll see them in TV or whatever, and the dispatcher almost seems like emotionally distanced, really removed from the tragedy or emergency that's happening. It seems at first a little calloused, like, can't you care?
Mm.
But it seems like that's part of the training, right?
That's all by design. So by the dispatcher staying calm, that is meant to also help the caller calm down, or using calming techniques like repetitive persistence, which is an action followed by a reason. I need you to calm down so I can help you. I need you to calm down so I can help you. And delivering those lines smoothly and calmly to the caller usually will help them calm down.
Yeah. All right. You've got to share some of your most or a memorable dispatch call that's something that struck you as humorous or funny. You were telling me last time about one call. Can you? Yeah. Can you tell? That's a good story.
So we had a woman call in on 911 that she had driven through a low water bridge that was flooded. By the way, turn around, don't drown.
Yes.
And she is, completely losing her mind that, water's getting deeper inside the vehicle. Her car is being swept away. This is the end. This is where she's going to die. Just 100% end of days for her. And we're doing it. We get the Iowa Fire Department headed out that way. They have their water rescue people. They have their boats. They're getting lots of help on the way. But meanwhile, we're using a vehicle and floodwater protocol where we follow a very defined set of instructions to provide callers in that situation how to get out of the vehicle. Starting with opening windows because you don't want them to open doors because of the water pressure. They might not be able to. And then getting them out of the vehicle onto the roof and staying with the vehicle. So as we're going through this process of, open your windows, and she's like, I can't do it, like I'm going to die. This is where it ends. And our water rescue team gets there, and as does a register photographer, I believe it was Richard. And they have the water rescue personnel escorting her out of ankle deep water from her car up to dry land. And I can see from her perspective, she in her eyes, that was a true emergency. Her car may have been starting to get swept away as the current was starting to move her vehicle, or, real concern that if her vehicle were to fall off the low water bridge, it goes into deeper water and she's in, out of the pan and into the fire.
Well, it was just a couple years ago. I can't remember exactly when, but Elm Creek, the water level in Elm Creek rose really, really quickly, and it was overnight. And then I woke up, and I think it was like a Saturday morning or something, and I drove here to the register to get my camera because I had, we had been texting amongst the staff, and where are you going to go? Parks flooded, state streets flooded, and even down here on South Washington, there was like a canoe or a boat or something that was out there rescuing people from their homes. I mean, water levels can rise really quickly.
Yeah.
Really, and just all of a sudden it didn't seem like you got that much rain, but nature can be crazy. It's just totally unpredictable.
Yeah, that's the flash flooding.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with upstream water levels with John Redmond. So when we are getting those high rain levels over an extended period of time, we're not just looking at the rain that we're getting here. We're looking at the rain that's falling well north of us, flowing into John Redmond, and then we're watching for the gate levels of how much water they're releasing downstream, because that definitely affects us.
That's a real wild card. If they start releasing more water, that's going to really affect us down here. Are you the type of because you've got a daughter?
I do.
And I'm wondering if you're the type of dad who always brings an extra bottle of water and the first aid kit and always got extra snacks and extra clothes? Is this just part of your personality, or is this
It
something?
is. We always have, an extra box of supplies in my wife's car or in my truck. We don't usually take my truck as many places, but we've always got, you know, emergency supplies. I carry around a backpack with me most places it has.
I'm just curious how this line of work, I mean, it sounds like this is part of who you are, but just what drew you to emergency management?
So I got my start in emergency services going way back to elementary school.
Hmm.
As a kid, had the firefighters come in and do our fire safety day presentations. My brothers they're much older than me, but they were both on the fire department when I was a young kid. And then once I turned 18 and I was old enough to join, I joined just after my 18th birthday. And firefighter 1, firefighter 2, EMT, hazmat, rescue tech, emergency vehicle operations, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then once I moved to Kansas, I became a dispatcher, and the previous emergency manager sought employment elsewhere. And I went to my boss at the time, Angie Murphy, and said, "What are we going to do for an emergency manager?" And she says, "I've been meaning to talk to you about that."
That's cool.
And that was back in 2015, and I've been doing it ever since.
What's the scariest part of your job? Is it, if I'm in your shoe, I'm thinking, I keep screaming from the rooftops, do this, do that, and people just don't seem to do it. And in the back of your mind, you're thinking, okay, this could kind. What is that a factor? What are some other things that kind of just are hard parts about your job?
There are just so many unknowns that we could have a Joplin level tornado come through and just completely change the course of the county's history.
Yeah, it could. I mean, in some sense, it's a question of I'm not trying to, but like kind of a when not if type of thing. I mean, we are in a part of the country where tornadoes are a fact of life, right?
And it's this time of year. The Joplin tornado was in May, around the 20th of May, I think, in 2011.
Okay, so you grew up in Maryland. I've got to ask you this. If you had to choose between a hurricane and a tornado, both really bad options, but which one would you prefer to experience?
That's a really hard question because, on one hand, with hurricanes, you have several days' notice. You know that this storm is coming towards you. But once you get in the hurricane, it lasts for several days, or what seems like several days. But then it also brings with it the storm surge, the massive flooding that from the windswept water being pushed inland, not just from the rain that falls from the storm itself. But tornadoes, they can pop up relatively quickly. You might have a few hours notice that a storm is taking place, or maybe even a few minutes, and you just have this storm come through and cause significant damage over a very defined area, not widespread like a hurricane. So I think I'd take tornadoes because it's like, okay, there's a tornado in Neosho County, we're okay.
Yeah, we're okay.
Whereas hurricanes it's just
the
a bad day for
East
everybody.
Coast.
Yeah.
All right, now I got to ask about food. So there's a couple Kansas things that, for one, chili and cinnamon rolls. Yes or no? Does that get a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
I've tried it, and I don't know that I can get on board with it. So, chili over cinnamon rolls.
Chicken and noodles.
Chicken and noodles. Yep.
Chicken fried steak.
Absolutely.
Okay, but like Maryland's got some good stuff. Crab is big, right?
Crab cakes.
Crab cakes are huge. What else is clam chowder big, or is that more up?
That's more north in New England.
Yeah.
We had crab soup, so cream of crab soup, which is kind of similar, or Maryland crab soup, which is like a beef vegetable soup, but it's made with crab instead of beef. Then rockfish, that was the other big thing that was caught off the Chesapeake Bay.
I've never had rockfish. But I don't eat a lot of the local fish. I'll eat catfish, but I'm not gonna go eat gar or something.
Yeah.
Those are prehistoric looking fish. Okay, sports teams. Chiefs or Ravens?
Yes. As long as they're not playing each other.
What about Orioles versus Royals?
I'm just not that into baseball.
Not into baseball.
No.
Okay. I'm curious. Here we're Iola is a big sport. Where baseball is always and track and cross country are big, but Kansas City, it definitely seems to be about those two.
Yeah.
The Chiefs and the Royals. So, well, cool. Does it feel like home, Kansas now?
It does. I grew up in a very small rural community of less than 1,000 people, or about 1,000 people. Lots of farmland, despite being in what's considered a more urbanized state. Lots of beat up pickup trucks, except it's
so small
belong to
towns is
fishermen.
nothing to
Yeah.
you.
Yep. This is Iowa is a much bigger town than what I grew up in.
Interesting. Well, cool. Well, thank you for all you do to keep us safe.
Yeah,
I really
no problem.
appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.